Today we're doing a creepy, not really creepy, scary animation video.
At least they're supposed to be scary.
Yeah, it's probably really not gonna be that scary, but yeah, we'll just get started with the video.
It was the beginning of summer. I decided to go to my local amusement park. My town opens the amusement park only during the summertime. I would usually spend, most of my summers indoors, watching YouTube, playing video games, basically living with my introverted.
I would like to say this dude is normal. Otherwise, that this dude's an animation, but his voice does not match how he looks at all.
That's very true. His voice sounds like his the animation looks like he would be like a squeaker, like not actually that squeaky, but squeak.
Just hey guys,
yeah,
like that voice.
Okay, we're gonna not try to pause the video that much because we're just gonna try to get through with it.
Tendencies. I was never the type to be outgoing, but decided to make friends at the fair this year, or at least attempt to. It was around the evening time, and I remember taking the bus alone. I finally arrived and remember seeing how high the rides were. Every time I look at a roller coaster or Ferris wheel, I always think of the movie Final Destination, where the freak accidents occur.
Okay, I know I'm not the only one that thinks this.
You're not the.
Did he say we're the final destination? The final destination of the booty.
He did not at all.
The booty's final destination. I swear that's what he said.
I'm personally afraid of heights, so I would always avoid going on the tall rides. As the night went on, I played a few carnival games, but would always come out empty-handed. Maybe I just sucked at the monotonous fair games and was better off playing video games at home. At least it's something I'm better at, but decided to test my luck. After all the unsuccessful attempts at winning my prizes, there was one game that caught my attention. It was an old, dusty-looking machine isolated at the end of the park. It looked like one of those fortune-teller machines that you would see in the arcades. The game didn't draw much attention from the people at the fair, so I decided to check it out myself. It was called Psychic Clown. It had a creepy-looking clown inside.
I like it.
Sort of looked a bit too real for my liking, honestly. I also noticed the game cost $1 per try, so I put whatever spare change I had into the slot. I then pressed the go button, and the clown began talking. It said, "Ask me a yes or no question to uncover the truth, and then press the go button." So I asked the clown, "Will I get a girlfriend by the end of the year?" I hit the go button, and the clown began moving. It started disturbingly laughing, and then eventually said the word, "No." I thought to myself, this can't be accurate. It's just a fair game. But the sad reality was that the clown was probably right. I decided to ask the clown more personal questions this time. I dropped more change in the slot and asked him, "Are my parents divorced?" My parents have been divorced for 10 years now. I pressed go, and the clown began doing its disturbing laugh again, eventually saying the word, "Yes." At this point, I was really creeped out and contemplated if it was just a fluke, or if this psychic clown game was for real. I reached for more change and realized that I only had $2 left, which was supposed to be my bus fare. I planned on calling my mom to come pick me up, so I decided to use my last $2 on the psychic clown now. I put the first dollar in, was ready to ask it a question, but the game didn't work this time. I gave it a few light taps and the clown began to laugh again. But This time, it seemed like the clown was malfunctioning. It began laughing uncontrollably and started jerking its body back and forth just vigorously. The movements were so vigorous to the point where the clown started banging his head on the glass, causing it to crack. This caused me to have a fight or flight reaction while others laughed at me. I found the whole ordeal pretty disturbing to say the least. I assumed it was some sort of glitch, so I decided to use my last dollar on one more question. The last question I asked to the clown is, will my mom pick me up from the fair tonight? Again, the clown begins to do its creepy laugh. Then it says the word, no. The next part of this story is what sends chills down my spine. My mom calls me right after the clown says, no. I pick up the phone and my mom asks me if I'm on my way home. I ask her if she can pick me up and she says, yes, I will. The call abruptly cuts off. I figured my phone had poor signal, so I didn't bother calling her back. I assumed that she was on her way to pick me up. At this point, I realized that the clown's revelation was wrong. My mom was on her way to pick me up. I head to the exit of the fair to wait for my mom to arrive. A few minutes then turned to an hour. I dial my mom's number again, and I try calling her back, but the call went straight to voicemail. I repeat this 10 more times as I leave her a text message saying, where are you? But I didn't get a response. I then called my stepdad. He answered the phone and asked if I'm headed home. I tell him I've been trying to get a hold of my mom for the past 2 hours. I can hear sheer panic in my stepdad's voice as he tells me he will get my cousin to come pick me up instead. An hour later, my cousin finally arrives to pick me up.
Just like him, it's like his twin.
He had a look of distraught in his face like he had just been through hell. I ask him if he knows where my mom is and why my stepdad didn't come for the ride. What he said next turned my stomach into a million knots. He tells me that he dropped my stepdad off at the hospital because my mom got into a car crash. I panicked and told my cousin to immediately drive to the hospital. Upon arrival, I find out from the doctors that my mom was pronounced dead from her injuries. It's been a year since my mom's passing, and I always contemplate whether I was the reason for her death, calling and texting her while she was driving. My other theory is it might have had something to do with that psychic clown. A part of me thinks that the psychic clown played a part in my mom's death, but I would never know for sure.
That's kind of creepy. Okay, we're gonna go on to the next video. And we found we have another video up, and I forgot. It's about McDonald's. So
It's a McDonald's. It's a true McDonald's horror story.
Yeah.
Is it how they make their burgers?
maybe.
In 2016, I went to a McDonald's with my friend who we'll call Ashton for privacy reasons. On this night, we had just seen a movie with his girlfriend time. We went to the McDonald's. So we decided to hit up our local McDonald's to go grab a bite. It was nearing midnight, so there were barely any cars out at this time. We went to the McDonald's, ordered our food, and sat down at a table. Ashton and his girlfriend were sitting down facing me, and I was facing them. As we were eating, I see a middle-aged man sitting about 2 tables across from us with a little boy that looked to be about 7 or 8. The thing I remember most vividly about the boy was the extremely empty, pale look on his face. On top of that, he wasn't even eating. He kind of just sat there watching what I assumed to be his dad. At one point, the guy gets up and grabs the boy's hand, and eventually they come to us. The man starts to ask Ashton if he had any spare cash on him. While he was talking to Ashton, the boy looks at me and stares at me with eyes open wide as possible. I'll admit, it was a bit creepy, but what he said next made me want to puke. "That's not my dad. I've been kidnapped. Please help me." My blood turned to ice as I heard him say that. The man then looked at the boy and then at me. And with that, they left out the McDonald's, as they knew that he caught on to my suspicion. Ashton and his girlfriend seemed to catch on as well, and I immediately dialed 911. I explained everything to the operator and gave her a description of the man and the boy. They came, but nothing ever became of it. A few weeks later, I was watching the news, and there was a missing child report that came on. When I saw who the missing child was, I nearly screamed. It was the same kid at the McDonald's. They unfortunately found his body by a canal not far from my house, and at that point, I knew that the man had something to do with this. Apparently, he had been missing for well over 6 months, and police have been searching for him ever since the day he'd gone missing. They aren't sure as to how he died, but the news said that he had died due to dehydration, which I found very false. Ever since that day, I feel so helpless and heartbroken for that boy. There are truly some messed up people in this world that do horrible things. I hope you could use my story to create awareness as to how these things happen all too often, and how you could take action to help make the world a better place.
Oh my. Okay, we're gonna go get our next video. We'll be back in a little bit. Okay, we found the other video, and it's about why you should always lock your doors.
Okay, I already am scared enough about this stuff.
I'm not even scared.
I know, but I'm petrified of that. And then the last one, I
the
definitely
end.
know he didn't die of dehydration.
Yeah, then you could just tell how he was. I bet the person killed him. His neighbors. Yeah, they were really loud, but
I'm the girl scream though.
that scream.
Yeah, and
That, I will
also,
admit, the scream gave me shivers.
and also, excuse me, but if they died from dehydration, why would there be puddles of blood by their body?
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. If they died from dehydration, there wouldn't be no puddles of blood. Stitches, that's what they say. No, that's why I have stitches, I'm just kidding.
You had.
That's why I have stitches.
Were you a snitch?
No.
Huh?
Alright,
well, let's start.
Yeah. This started seems kind of scary, but whatever. I just fell out the motorball. What if this whole
It was a Sunday afternoon, and my boyfriend and I had just gotten home from a weekend of camping. We unpacked quickly, and he went to shower right away before he had to leave for work. I anxiously kept unpacking everything, and hated the fact that I would be alone in this secluded house, until around 11 p.m. when he got back home. Our house is old,
Corey's gonna get up, it doesn't matter right now.
What does secluded mean?
You don't have to say it.
Doesn't
Don't say it right now.
Don't work. It don't.
creepy and kind of secluded. After he left, it was my turn to shower. I always made sure to shower when it was daylight outside, so I wouldn't be as paranoid if I heard a noise. I got out of the shower, wrapped my hair in a towel, and threw my housecoat on. Laying on my bed, playing on my phone, I heard the front door handle jiggle loudly. I waited for a moment and heard the front door jiggle more aggressively. Feeling irritated, I immediately assumed my boyfriend forgot his work keys, house keys, or phone and had to turn back, meaning he'd be late for work. I got off the bed annoyed and went to open the door for him. When I got to the door, I saw a strange man staring back at me through the door window. He was holding the door handle and turning it. We made eye contact, and his eyes went wide. He took off running, and I ran to the back door to make sure that it was locked. I grabbed my phone and frantically checked every window to see if the man ran to the backyard. We don't have any fences, and we live in a wooded area. I couldn't see him or find him. At the time, I didn't know if he came because he knew I was home alone, or if he had been watching the house and saw that it had been empty the past few days. Either way, I grabbed my car keys, scooped up the dog, and got out of there.
Well, that was like a very quick story, and I was just saying subscribe, and we are not. Bleh, bleh, bleh. Okay. So just saying,
Yep, subscribe to Skeptic School. They make really good videos.
that wasn't that scary actually. I
But
mean,
it was a pretty good one.
yeah, it was nice, and we're gonna end it off
I
here.
really like the one about McDonald's.
Yeah. So
I like how they all just got a giant Big Mac.
I feel like
We might do one more.
maybe.
Let's
Let's go try to find one. Go back. So guys, we're gonna end it off here. So if I wish you guys probably would subscribe and like the video, but you do not have to. I'm not forcing you, but I'm just asking because I feel like that would just make our day. So peace.
It looks like I'm wearing an orange shirt.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.